Hi, it's Matthew Staszica, and I've invited Daria Iniewski to Polishing English in Business with Balls because she definitely has some. We've talked about her international experience collaborating with foreign companies and running a marketing business in Poland. Check it out.
Yeah, as you guys know, my name is Daria Iniewski. I'm Ukrainian. I come from Ukraine, but I've been living in Poland for the last 10 years. I've been also living in a couple of other countries like UK and Switzerland, Ukraine. At some point of time, I got back to Ukraine, but eventually I settled down in Poland. I'm an owner of a marketing agency called Aspired. We're a performance marketing agency, so we are actually a Google business partner. We're a Meta business partner, so 80% of what we do is actually paid ads. So we work mainly with SaaS companies and e-commerce companies from Poland and from abroad. I would say roughly 50-60% of our clients come from abroad. It's my work is very interesting. I'm happy to share lots of interesting insights with you. And thank you for having me here today.
Always very, very interested in fuck ups of other people, and especially the businessmen or businesswomen. How do you handle fuck ups, and what was your latest one?
Okay, fuck ups at Aspired in general.
And Aspired.
Oh yeah, well, okay. Well, with me, my personal fuck up is I think a lot of young entrepreneurs actually do that very often, and it's a common mistake. I oftentimes underestimate the workload needed for the project, and then I think of a retainer, for our services, and then it happened to me quite a few times, and recently especially, that we end up doing a lot for too little, because sometimes it's just very hard to estimate the workload needed. So like one recent example was a project that we did, and it seemed to be, well, in the beginning, way smaller, and it seemed to require way less workload. And then the client was super stubborn in terms of our pricing and in terms of, our work conditions. She wanted to work on a retainer basis, just retainers. So normally, whenever we start with a project, it's more like time and material. So we settle for hours worked, or we work for a fee plus, some provision from our marketing budget. But with this one, she was super stubborn in terms of just sticking to retainer. And so we had this retainer, but then she was like, goodness, we've never had such a client. She would text us every day. She would ask us to change many things, so we would send her some campaign for an approval or something. She would ask us to change it 5 or 6 times. So it was crazy, and then it's a very fine line whether, whilst you're trying to kind of, satisfy the client, especially in the beginning of the work, and you want them to stick with you and to work with you for a long time. But then at the same time, you just need to sort of protect your interests and just, make money.
Yeah, sure. So it was your client. Have I heard properly?
Yeah. I mean, the whole story was kind of, the reason why I brought it up as well is because the project didn't work out, as well. It was a startup, so they were just testing their ideas. They wanted to collect some feedback from the market. So, it was just the beginning of everything. So the project itself didn't work out. The collaboration didn't work out either. So, yeah. Quite a failure, I have to say, given how much time and effort we have put into this project.
Yeah, that sucks. Okay. Was it this foreign client or Polish?
It was actually a company run by Polish people, but operating abroad.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's move out of the fuck-ups for a bit. I think that we have already presented that this conversation is gonna be just
very sincere and about everything that is important, could be important. There is no beating around the bush. So let's talk about the beginning. How has your career in marketing started?
Well, I think I need to start with a slightly longer story because after graduation, I finished graduated from the University of Warsaw. I really wanted to run my own business, but I didn't have any idea how to do that. So I went to work for a consulting company for management consulting company called PricewaterhouseCoopers, right, PwC. That was actually when I went back to Ukraine to live there and work there. It didn't work out either. And it's funny, because just it sounds like my whole career or like my work is just a strain of, failures. It's not. Just a little spoiler, it's not. But it just, that's how it was. So I decided to open my own company after that. And it was actually, I started a catering company / coffee shop at the Plac Grabowski Square in Warsaw. It was actually super successful. We were doing vegan sweets. At some point, after 2.5 years, I was actually super exhausted. I started this company when I was super young. I was 21 when I just started the company.
And how old are you now? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm 28 now. So I started this so it was just too much to handle for such a young person, for such a young girl. My coffee shop was open 7 days a week. I didn't have any days off. I was doing caterings for some really large brands, we were working with, for example, Samsung, McKinsey, but it was just too much responsibility to handle as well. So I closed down the company and I actually sold some stuff as well. I actually wanted to learn some marketing because I felt that when I was doing Oh My Goji, that was the name of my company, I actually lacked marketing skills. So, and at that point of time, when I closed to my Goji, I already knew that I want to run a marketing agency. But again, I never worked in marketing, so I didn't know what to do and how to approach it. So I went to work for a marketing agency. It was a traditional marketing agency. We were also working with some really big brands, and we were doing kind of 360 degrees campaigns, holistic campaigns where you do from A to Z, pretty much where you handle everything. I didn't like it that much, so I quit. I went to work for a different company for a year, and then after that time, I just started freelancing, looking for some clients. The ultimate goal was to open an agency. And 2 years ago, slightly more than 2 years, 2 years and 2 months ago, I opened Spark. I registered the company, and I think it's been one of the best decisions of my life.
Okay, nice. And what have you learned from this company you quitted?
From this marketing agency?
Yeah, the first marketing agency.
What did I learn? Well, I learned in general how marketing agencies operate, because again, for me, I believe that marketing in general is not hard, and marketing has a lot of different aspects, a lot of different, when someone says they work in marketing, it's just so broad, you can never know what they actually do, whether they do content marketing, whether they do performance marketing, whether they, do sales, some people call sales marketing. So with that marketing agency, at least I found out how marketing agencies operate in Poland, larger ones. So that was something that I learned. So in terms of marketing, the marketing I was doing there is very different to the marketing that I'm doing now, So marketing wise, I didn't learn that much, but at least I had some look into, how, this business operates.
Yeah, how to build an organization, right?
Yeah, that for sure. And again, when I started my own company on my Goji back in the day, I worked only for a large corporation, so I didn't know how small businesses operate, and I wanted to actually just see from inside how things work in other companies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Aspired Digital.
Yeah, we adjust this part. As far digital is our domain, but we adjust this part, if anything.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So, Aspire, what do you do, in this better description? Because you've already gave us a notion about e-commerce and, paid ads and stuff, but yeah, how exactly you bring value to your clients? How do you do that? What do you do? What are the other things that you...
Well, we spend their money. A lot of money of theirs.
Because, for example, you mentioned sales and marketing. People are sometimes calling sales the marketing, right? For me, it actually is one direction. Like sales and marketing are, on some point, there is this togetherness, and there should be some kind of platform for those two, because those two go the one direction and they are supposed to bring clients, right? So for me, sales and marketing are pretty close, and at some points that they are actually intermingled. But never mind. For example, sales.
Actually, I can talk about this for hours, so I'm not sure if you want to go this fast, I think this podcast will take us 5 hours.
If we have a lot of subjects to do and to go really deep, we can have more episodes than just one. So don't worry about this.
Sure.
Do you have a sales representative at Aspired, and how do you cope with acquiring new clients?
No, I mean, I actually do most of the sales. The employees that I have, they're sort of frontline employees who actually do the work. And I'm the one, talking to potential clients. But oftentimes my employees, help me to sell, because whenever we start, speaking to some client, oftentimes we need to prepare media plan or strategy, at least some, very sort of, I would say, not like a very detailed strategy, but at least some draft of a strategy. And that at this time, I actually ask my employees to help me with that. You actually have raised a lot of questions. So your first one was about what kind of value we bring, right, to our clients.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So our main focus is paid ads, and as I said, and I think our strength is that we actually do custom strategies for all our clients. So oftentimes, if you go to a marketing agency in Poland, they would just charge you a retainer, and then they would have 5-6 hours to spend on your ads. Sometimes less, sometimes more, depends on how much money you pay them. With us, it's very different because we generally try to help, and we never do the same things for the same clients. It's always very different. It's always tailor-made. So, so I think that's our biggest strength and our biggest value, because if we see that, for example, Google Ads don't yield any results for the client, we can tell them, okay, well, there is no point for you to do Google Ads. Well, you don't have to, there is no room for us to collab. So if we really see that, that what we do doesn't benefit our clients, we will not work. So I think it's a very honest and fair, approach. And yeah, I think that's something that differentiates us from many companies in the market. And then again, they're very flexible. If we see that some traffic source doesn't really yield good results for the client, or we see that some of the stuff that they were doing doesn't make any sense, we will not do that. So we are constantly. We just constantly keep our eye on what we're doing and just analyze it and just try to improve and just constantly iterate. So it's always, it's an ongoing process. So we're just trying to squeeze out most of the value of marketing that we do. So we are trying, as I said, we are trying to squeeze out most of the value from everything what we do.
That's nice. I mean, frankly speaking, when I scrolled through your website, I did not feel this kind of notion of personalization. Like what you've used this word tailor-made, which for me, maybe I'm just a freak, but it triggered me. Like I would totally stop for a while and think, having your website opened, like about you, about your services. And maybe I was just not scrolling good enough, but probably this is the most important thing for you, like tailor-made, like personalization. I love this personalization approach. So personalized approach, how do you maintain it? Because if you are creating a process for each client, it's like every day there is a new project. Isn't it too difficult, time consuming, and not business friendly? What do you think?
I mean, it is and it isn't, like this is the question I've asked myself countless times. I really do think that this is our unique selling point, and this is something that does differentiate us, and that's why we need to stick to it. As a small company, below 10 full-time employees, I believe that we need to just do things differently than most of the agencies, because agency business is a red ocean. In Poland, the number of marketing agencies in Poland or in general in the world is huge. It's a super competitive business. It's an extremely competitive business. And then you compete not only with agencies, you also compete with freelancers. You also compete with employees of different companies, like marketing departments, etc. So the amount of people who do marketing is also extremely huge. So you do have to be different somehow. So I think like business wise, it makes sense. But then of course, in terms of scaling, it's harder. But then on the other hand, if you charge premium, and we do, for this kind of services, it makes more sense, in the end of the day. And then there are still companies which, have a very individual approach to their clients, and they still were able to scale and grow. Like for example, I treat Aspired not only solely as a marketing agency, but more like I would say, but not more like it, but as a consulting company as well. And if you look like at some large consulting companies, they don't have many clients. But the work, the quality of the work that they do is very high, and it's always very tailor-made, right? As I said, so it is and it isn't, I would say. But again, given that we cannot do things differently, we cannot just. I personally, I wouldn't also be able to run campaigns which are deprived of sense. Just get a retainer for that and call it a day. It's not, I think it's in DNA of our company. We generally try to help, and we generally try to be useful, and it's very important to stick to your values as well.
Okay, so this unique value of your company comes from you, your heart, your character, or it was rather designed, like you saw the opportunity in the market for tailor-made marketing services?
I mean, I think it's both, because I personally, when I started back in the day, I didn't have anything, I didn't have any clients, I didn't have any money, right? So it was literally, I was starting from zero, right? And I was talking to different clients, and they were like, "Oh God," like that's something that I heard many times. "Oh God, I'm just so tired of working with marketing agencies. They don't really care. Like they would answer my emails for ages. They like what they do. They are not trying to get into my business. They're not trying to understand my problems. Their approach is very sort of, it's not deep enough. It's very shallow. So I was like, look, I was obviously trying to retain the client, right? So I was like telling them, okay, we can take a step closer, right? We can actually do some extra work. We can actually learn more about your business. We can actually try to help. And then so it was both. I think it's my values, but it's also the response to actually the current market needs. And I do believe that there is a huge potential in that as well.
Okay, lovely. So your clients must be super happy with that and with your approach, I guess. So who are your clients? Like, as we mentioned, most of them are foreign companies, like not located in Poland or thinking about relocating or trying to enter our market. So who they are specifically then?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, right, we work mainly with SaaS businesses, software as a service, and e-commerce businesses. These are our two main business dimensions. So when it comes to e-commerces, we've worked with some really large, US e-commerces and in general e-commerces from Poland. With SaaS companies, we work with SaaS companies from Canada, from the US, from the UK, from Poland too, from Germany. So it's quite broad, quite a broad spectrum of clients, I have to say. We've also worked with a couple of Polish famous brands like LuxMed or Big Star or STS. So occasionally we work with those companies too. But I think in general, for us, there is more potential and interest working with companies that are on a very that are actively growing, and that are very innovative, and that are open to actually entering different markets. So that's how it looks on our side.
Yeah, there are many details. I'd love to hear your opinion on this comparison between UK and US markets, or rather companies, because they are like, would you say that the culture is different between those two? Like when you communicate to those companies, is UK more formal, official as they say, and US is just so friendly and open and stuff, and like not caring or seeming not to care? Like, how would you assess that?
I mean, I have to say it really depends on the product that you sell and the product that you market. Because again, if you sell like a SaaS product, B2B SaaS product, then your communication will be very different than if you're selling mascara. So regardless of the market, of the US or the UK, it's actually the product that determines the marketing strategy and the sales strategy. This is the first thing. In terms of the differences, let's say if we are to promote the same product in both the US and the UK market, so the UK market is definitely way larger. The US market is way larger. So people, and in general, I feel like people in the US, they spend money way more easily than in the UK. So they would spend without much hesitation in general. In the UK, they are more like kind of budget conscious. Another thing I would say is that in the US market is also way more competitive. The amount of brands in the US market is just huge. Like, it is super competitive. And oftentimes, if you would just want to get to quick sales, you just need to have the lowest price in the market, and that's it. So if on the business side, right, if you are able to actually keep your margin low and sell for the lowest price, then if given that you have like big enough budget, most likely you will be able to secure good sales for yourself. In the UK, I feel like you have to be a little more creative, So the UK market is also very competitive, but it's slightly less competitive than the UK market. And as I said, in both in terms of the amount of products and both in terms of the amount of advertisers, you have to understand that whenever you, let's say, run a marketing campaign on Facebook, like for a user, like there is a huge number of companies fighting for a user to see your ad. And then, if your budget is very small, then the user won't just see it. So you have to bear that in mind. And in the US, you have to start with a larger budget because of that, because, the number of advertisers is larger. So you just have to, I would say, the entry point, the threshold is higher to enter in the US. So, for example, if you have like the budget below $5,000, and if you you want to run campaigns, like for a beauty product, it just doesn't make sense to even start. It's just too little budget to start.
Okay, I see. But apart from prices and price ranges, because that can be seen as some kind of difficulty, but not necessarily, do you think that, for example, American market is like easier for you, or it's the otherwise, like you feel better to work on UK market? What do you think?
I would say depends on the marketing budget, because if the marketing budget is large enough, I would definitely prefer the US market, because as I said, I feel like people buy products there in a faster way, in a way like with less hesitation than in the UK. But if I am to work with a smaller budget, I would prefer the UK market. And then as a marketer, I think with the UK market, it's also a little more interesting because as I said, you have to be a little more creative, as well. So, I would, so it depends on the budget and depends on the product. So that this question doesn't have one right answer.
Okay. So you are a Ukrainian living in Poland and running an agency that acquires foreign companies. Why foreign companies? Why foreign markets? Why not focusing on one Polish market? What is your say to that?
I mean, we work with both, we work with both Polish clients and clients from abroad. And there are, as I said, like different pros and cons from working with both types of clients. I mean, I would say I started with the foreign clients simply because, I speak English well. I felt fully comfortable selling my products, to some clients abroad. So it happened quite naturally. When it comes to the Polish clients, the reason why we have Polish clients is because oftentimes we get clients through referrals and through the network, and we wouldn't refuse a client, if they approach us, of course, So it also happened quite naturally. So yeah, that's how it is.
Okay, fine. And how have you learned English, by the way? Just pivoting a little bit from the main course of our conversation, because you speak really, really well, and you've mentioned being in UK, Switzerland, do I remember correctly? So, or maybe was it Ukrainian education?
Yeah, well, I actually, I think I started off in Ukraine when I was around 6 or 7. I went to school, which had pretty good level of English, like, as for Ukrainian standards, I have to say. So, I just love languages. I think English has always been my hobby. I would, read English books just in my spare time, so I really enjoyed it. when I came to Poland 10 years ago, I realized that I didn't speak English that well as I thought back in Ukraine, in Ukraine I was superstar. But when I came to Poland, and entered the University of Warsaw, I actually realized that I'm not a good speaker. So I also had an English speaking boyfriend. He was actually British, and that's the reason why I used to travel to the UK very often. I mean, I was there for like 5-6 times. So I think in total I spent there around 4 or 5 months. So. So it was my goal also to learn English very well, because I knew that could actually secure a good job for me once I graduate. And then again, I just loved languages. I learned Polish as well because I just really liked it. And so that's how it was. At my university, I was also surrounded by a lot of English-speaking people. My best friend is Pakistani, who actually speaks English as a native speaker. So very westernized Pakistani, I have to say. At the university, I was mainly speaking English, Polish occasionally. I would say 80% of the time it was English. And once I graduated, I spoke English very well, way better than when I came to Poland. So for those 3 years, my English skills improved dramatically.
Okay. And having all that great English competencies and like this opened mind to, generally, globally. Why Poland? Why haven't you stayed in UK or Switzerland?
Oh, well, again.
I don't.
Well, first of all, I really like Poland. I generally like it here. And, I speak Polish fluently. Poland is not my motherhood, and then at the day, it will always be Ukraine. But then at the same time, Poland is definitely my second motherhood. I know the culture very well. I know the mentality very well. Again, I speak the language well. So, for me, Poland is a very, it's my home, like now, oftentimes, even when I ask myself, where is my true home, where my true home is, I don't have one right answer. And the first thing which comes to my mind is Warsaw, Poland. So Switzerland, the reason why I didn't stay in Switzerland is because I went there just to study, for an exchange program. So it was never a goal, to stay in Switzerland. The reason why I didn't stay in the UK is because I opened a business here in Poland, and I just saw like a lot of opportunities for me here. I mean, I hope that, like, not that I hope, but I do believe that, in the end of the day, I will live in a different country. I will move to a different country for some time, but I don't think that this is my main goal. I think it's more important what is more important is sort of what you do and what kind of people you're surrounded by, what kind of partner, what kind of life partner you have. I think those things are way more important than what country you live in, at least for me.
Okay, yeah, I feel you.
And come on, Poland is not, like the worst choice, It's safe, it's still relatively, not too cheap at the moment, unfortunately, especially given, real estate prices, but it's still way cheaper than a lot of countries. And I think it's a great time to be Ukrainian in Poland, because, I speak Russian, I speak Ukrainian, there are a lot of, Ukrainian and Russian speaking people here. So that helps as well in terms of my company. So I do believe that, it makes a lot of sense that I'm here now.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, there are so many people who are bitching about Poland, and they are just like all negative, and you probably feel that, and you've already been there for 10 years. So I definitely think you really, really know us quite good. And you know that we have this tendency to
complain.
Yeah, to complain, but also to see everything in better view abroad. Like everything abroad is better than here, which is not true. I mean, I've been traveling quite a lot, and frankly speaking, Poland for me is lately one of the best places in Europe you can end up in. I don't know what's your opinion on this. I would probably prefer Portugal because of seafood, maybe.
Well, you can get seafood here as well. Frozen seafood though, but you can still get it here.
Yeah, all right. So,
so should I answer your question or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
About Polish people complaining, it's just, Polish people complain about everything, not only about their country. So, it's like, weather, salaries, politics, of course. I mean, people complain about politics and politicians everywhere. But in Poland, they do it a lot. No, I mean, in general, honestly, I think the trend is changing as well. And I think with Polish people, it's very similar to the Ukrainian people, whereas Poles are sort of proud to be Poles, but at the same time, they're a little bit embarrassed to be Poles. I don't know how to say that, but it's constantly like love and hate relationship. And I think it's similar, to Ukraine, because Polish people abroad, they see some Poles, they still feel sort of, this kind of, they feel close, to Polish people. They reveal that they are Polish. They will not hide that. They will be like, oh yeah, hello, cześć, hejka, jak tam, But at the same time, they will go to Polish shops so that they like their culture, right? So it's not like they dislike it, but at the same time, they would be like, of course it's Poland, right? So how can things be different, right? Of course, somewhere else, right? It's better, right? Overseas life's better, but then the grass is greener. But then, I think it's kind of, very, very Eastern mentality, very similar to Ukrainians. And I think overall the trend is changing. I see a lot of people coming back to Poland as well. A lot of young people moved to the UK back in the day. Once the Brexit happened, a lot of people got back here. So I'm pretty happy because I think Polish people have to be a little bit happier about Poland, and I'm genuinely happy that finally, the realization of the fact that Poland is great is coming to them.
Okay, so you've been for 10 years here now, and do you think it's difficult to be Ukrainian right now in Poland? And if you were to look at it from the perspective of those 10 years, because recently the optics changed, right? And I have some observations, but before I share, I'd like to hear what you think of it.
I mean, for me, it's very biased what I'll say, because again, I don't think Polish people treat me as a Ukrainian, as such. I think because I speak Polish very well, and some people cannot even hear the accent for the first 1 minute or two. Later on, they hear it, unfortunately, but in the beginning they don't. They don't treat me as a Ukrainian, So I honestly feel very integrated into the Polish society. If I were to move to Poland now, that would be very, very different. Then again, it's very different when you know the language well. So I think for those people who have been living here for some time, it's great. And as I said, right, the fact that there are a lot of Ukrainians and Belarusians coming to Poland, it just does give a lot of opportunities as well. But I don't think it's that easy for a person who just moved here recently. because I think the market is slightly like oversaturated in terms of the number of Ukrainians, and it's hard to get a good job now. Again, I think some Polish people are getting tired of Ukrainians coming in, and a lot of Ukrainians actually don't make any effort to learn the language, which also annoys a lot of Polish people. So for me, I think I'm personally at a very good place, but I don't think that every Ukrainian is.
Okay. Yeah. So let's delve deeper into these last words you've uttered. Like, why do you think not every Ukrainian right now is in a good place, and maybe do you have any advice for them?
I mean, I think, mainly because it's, as I said, right, it's hard to get a good job now if you don't speak Polish, or especially if you don't speak English either, and a lot of people who were forced to move to Poland because of the war, they don't speak any foreign languages because, they never had a goal to learn a foreign language. They thought that they would stay in Ukraine till the rest of time. So I do believe that because of that, their work opportunities are pretty limited. And the second thing is that, as I said, right, the stigma in the society, like about the Ukrainian people, it's kind of there, and it doesn't help either. So that's why. My advice to the Ukrainian people would be to definitely learn Polish, because I think it's the key that opens a lot of doors. And those people who say, oh, well, I don't really need Polish, I speak English well, or I have a good job, I think it's a very sort of myopic and very limited, approach. They really have to be a little more open-minded. Yeah, especially in Poland. I think like Poland is one of those countries that does require you to speak local language to actually be able to integrate into the society very well.
Yeah, like everywhere we go, if we are not given something in advance, we can't really think of getting back anything. Like, you need to invest. And if you are not investing in the society you want to live in, like, for example, studying the language, it can be quite difficult. I can see that, for example, in the Netherlands. One of our main markets at PLA school is the Dutch market. And there are Poles who just say that English is enough because everybody speaks English in the Netherlands. But if you speak Dutch, they just consciously and subconsciously see you differently. And you want to be seen differently if you want to matter. So the same as in Poland. If you are not willing to study Polish, you don't want to learn it, it's just, you are, in between the lines, you're saying that you don't care and you can just leave the country in a couple of days and restart your life somewhere else with some global skill, meaning English. So this is not the piece of information you want to be shared. You don't want people think of such things about you, right? So I think this is very important to speak Polish in Poland, or at least try to have some goal language oriented, right, here, and that would be quite important. I have this notion of Ukrainians being in three groups here. Yeah. Like, don't you think there are three groups of Ukrainians in Poland? Like, the people who came pre-Maidan, after Maidan, and recent war. Like there are those three groups, and definitely, like I think you are in this first group, and this group is like genuinely Western oriented, like no borders, open-minded, and like creating greater good, not really looking at the borders and some fucking lines on the maps.
And do you think it's actually easy to well, maybe not easy, let me word it differently. Do you think it's a good time to be Ukrainian in Poland now?
Yeah, I think so. Because there are people who are already tired, so to say, of all this aid and war and being constantly bombarded with negative information, because this is what media do. So people are, that there are some negative tendencies, but not everybody's gonna be like this. There are people who are really willing to help, and they are more willing to help than 3 or 4 years ago. And I think that you just need to seek this opportunity. Like, maybe it's difficult to seek for the opportunity, but it's difficult all the time. Whoever you are and wherever you are, you have to, work harder, do something. You need to act. And only people who are lazy, they are going to complain that, yeah, there were better times for Ukrainians in Poland, blah, blah, blah. There were better times for Ukrainians in Ukraine too. Right?
That is true.
So yeah. Let's change the perspective a little bit. What would you advise to Polish people as a Ukrainian, as a person who has this broader perspective and quite a lot of different, emotional connections and experience and stuff?
Yeah, well, we actually have touched upon the first thing already, which is complain less. Enjoy where you are. I think Poland is actually going through great transformation, and there are a lot of opportunities, business opportunities nowadays in Poland. And I do believe that it's actually more exciting to be in Poland now than, let's say, in the UK or in the US, actually. I firmly believe that. Second of all, I would tell Polish people that they have to have like a slightly broader perspective to marketing. Oftentimes, something that I see is that Polish people are very focused on actually getting, instant results like from their campaigns, and they look at them in a very sort of shallow way. They have like this sort of tunnel vision approach, in a way that they think, hey, well, if I spend 1,000 via PLN, I have to get like 50 clients, and if I don't, nothing worked out. It doesn't make sense. Let's turn it off like after 2 days of running. So they have to have like a slightly broader perspective to marketing in general, and educate themselves on what marketing is, and on how to calculate returns from marketing as well. So this is my second advice. And my third advice is what would be my third advice? Is to eat less donuts for Fat Thursday, because I think like some Polish people eat too many donuts, and then they complain. They have like some belly pain, and I'm always wonder like, why do you do the same thing and again? Last time you almost died from eating 20 donuts. Why do you eat 25 this year? So it's stupid. Don't do that again. So that would be my third advice.
I sometimes just think that universe is like sharing the knowledge, and you just need to see it, and you just want you should want to see it. And we have this tendency of being blind to that.
Even in terms of donuts or in terms of marketing returns?
Everything. Like I'm discussing some kind of Polish threat, I think. Could be. I don't know. It's just
Not learning from mistakes, or like what?
not learning from mistakes, not trying to learn from mistakes, like being blind to this, like even not wanting to commit a mistake, like as if it was the worst thing ever, committing a mistake, like not even being able to commit mistakes because you are so enclosed, encapsulated in this kind of I don't know, barrier and this comfort zone,
Oh, wow, okay, you're going so far. With your thoughts. I don't know what triggered that. I don't know.
I think they just added something to my water, and
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, in general, I mean, it's a human trait. I mean, it's not like, again, like working with foreign clients, we have, I have some comparison, right? And then I have some perspective. People are risk averse, and this is the fact. No one really wants to, spend money on marketing without knowing that there will be some return. So it's normal for everyone, right? But something that you actually brought up, it's something that you brought up, and I think like Polish people are super risk averse. I think like Polish people are they like to actually, have some guarantees all the time of everything. In terms of their mentality, I think they actually definitely prefer, they like security way more than, they find comfort in security way more than, let's say, people from the Western Europe. I think that is the fact. And perhaps, I don't know where that comes from. Either like the history, because in general, Poland, now the Polish economy is growing, right? And Polish people are way better off than they used to be, even like 20 or 30 years ago. Again, comparing to the Western countries, right? So there is still this sort of aftertaste of bad times, right? Like Soviet Union times, that doesn't really help. Or I don't know what it is, but definitely I think like Polish people are way more risk averse than other countries, from the other countries, let's say UK or the US, since we brought it up already.
Okay, yeah. So like being risk oriented and prone to take risks and trying to develop and explore, maybe sometimes, I don't know. It definitely depends on the generation. But generally speaking, like culturally, trying to compare cultures. For example, Dutch culture is more like open to feedback, I'd say. And they are willing to commit mistakes and to learn from them. And in Poland, we have this culture of not committing mistakes. That's the problem, I think. And you can actually see that in our educational system, I guess. But it's like quite a complicated subject.
It's a complicated subject. The more I think of it, the more things I want to say, but I'm not sure this. That's just the best time.
Yeah. And getting back to business, I wanted to know, what is your perspective on foreign companies right now investing in Poland? Like you've said a couple of times that right now is the good time for Poland and you are working for foreign companies. Why foreign companies are like willing to collaborate with Polish companies like your Aspired, or why are they coming to Poland and trying to invest here and maybe like move their headquarters and stuff? There is this movement. So why do you think?
Well, I think that the reason is pretty obvious. The economy is booming. Again, there is a lot of labor force from Ukraine, again, from Belarus as well, and they're a little cheaper. Yeah, just to say things the way they are. It's still cheaper to hire like a Ukrainian person or a Polish person than hire, a French person. So definitely, money-wise, it makes a lot of sense. And I think, the Polish economy is creating a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of products, a lot of services that were not present in Poland. And now, a lot of companies enter the market with their products, and they find the great demand for their services and products. So yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. It's just the economy is the answer.
Okay, economy. So if you want to collaborate with the companies from abroad, how do you do that? How do you acquire clients from abroad? How do you communicate with them?
Mm-hmm. Well, we acquire them either through networking or through our marketing activities. So both, sometimes we get clients from Clutch. We have Clutch.
Yep.
Okay. Well, for those listeners who don't know, it's a platform where you can just share your reviews. So like a portal with different reviews. So some clients come from there, some clients come from LinkedIn, and some clients come from network. Sometimes we just get inbound leads that, when a foreign company is looking for a partner in Poland, they can find us. Our website is in English, so it happened to us a few times as well. Definitely not as many times as I would like to, but yeah, it still happened. When it comes to communication, we communicate either through Slack or WhatsApp. With most of the projects is Slack. And what else? I think that could be interesting. In terms of communication, we communicate with foreign clients way less often than with the Polish clients. Again, I don't know, either this is a mentality or it's just our projects, but our Polish clients want to hop on calls with us every week or a few times a week, and foreign clients normally don't. Like for them, once every 2 weeks is enough. I don't know. Perhaps it's the project that we work with. Perhaps it's just a coincidence. I don't know. But this is the fact. We communicate way less often with our foreign clients than with the Polish ones.
Okay. Do you think that linguistically there is something worth mentioning in terms of communication? Like, for example, this was quite interesting, right? Like Polish companies tend to be updated very often, and foreign companies not. So from the perspective of language, like being official or formal or completely not, is it like a thing, or you just go with the flow and you don't really need to pay attention to this linguistics?
I mean, again, it does depend on the company, or it does depend on the client. Overall, I think our communication style is not formal at all. At least we try to make it as not formal as possible, as informal as possible, because it does help to maintain very good relationship with clients as well. We want to know them as people, not only as clients. In terms of the reporting, we definitely don't add as many details as for Polish clients, because oftentimes Polish clients want to know, all the details possible. They want to know what happens to campaigns every day and what actually is the reason behind our decision-making process. With foreign clients, oftentimes they have sort of this hybrid view of the campaigns. They just want to know, what the results are, and like how much money we spend and all that. So we are not going too much into details. In general, all the Polish clients and all the Polish people who want to communicate with foreign clients but somehow are embarrassed or ashamed in their English, they shouldn't be, because English-speaking clients have really great tolerance towards people not speaking English well. So good English definitely helps. It does help you gain more credibility. But in general, I think like English-speaking people, native speakers, they hear so much bad English that they really have developed like great tolerance of bad English. So if you make some mistake or if you cannot express yourself, then it's fine. Of course, as I said, you still have to, you still have to strive to speak better English, right? But it's not the end of the day if you can't speak English too well.
Yeah, obviously. And not that obviously from the perspective of 90% of Poles, like I think, and this is also because of education, we think like worse of ourselves, like as if you are not speaking British accent, you are worse or something like this.
Yeah, that's super silly because most of the Polish people, they actually speak good English. In general, I think like Poland has a very good level of English proficiency, and I really do not comprehend why some people just are embarrassed of their English. It's just so silly, honestly.
I think that you've presented some nice marketing insights. I really liked the story. There is a lot of work in this story of yours, like hustle, but not over hustling. Maybe, I don't know. You don't seem over hustled.
Well, that's great. I think it's better. It's better to not seem over hustled rather than to seem over hustled. I think definitely a person who just looks tired and exhausted from working too much doesn't really, look too good. So
yeah, and you should definitely do what you do. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Matthew, for such a great advice. It was a great pleasure to be a guest at your podcast. So in case if you want me to jump to some other questions, or like if some of the listeners wants to actually learn more about my work, about me, or ask me for some advice, I will always be happy to help. And I'm quite a talkative person, so I really like helping people out and just speaking to them. So you can either find me on LinkedIn and text me there, or you can text me via my email, or even give me a ring. I'm happy to text you my phone number on my LinkedIn, so then we could have a chat later on.
All right, good. There is gonna be some contact info in the description. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, listeners, for your time as well and your attention. I hope that everybody, not only me, got something, some knowledge, some nice development. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you and cheers.